can you be ready for this? I don't know that minds can perceive this, what is about to happen. I received a comment, and we're gonna have to do some reading here. I made a video called I chose to learn French instead of Spanish, even though I have more Spanish heritage or background, whatever you want to call it, than French. And I received a comment from Silent Bob, who had this to say, quote, "I think you do not speak French. I challenge you to prove me wrong in your next video." To which I replied, "Never." And then he left a comment in French. And so, you know what? Why don't I go ahead and try to interpret what this comment says? I have not cheated and researched it, anything like that. I'm going to go for this, but I do want to say, in the video where I explained, I did choose to have 2 years of French in high school and at least 2, maybe 3 years in college. All I'm saying is that I took those classes and I did well in them. I'm not claiming that I speak French. What I am willing to say is I can read French and get some general concepts of it. Compared to someone who has no background at all in it, I can at least do that much. But I'm not claiming that I can speak French. I only claim to have taken at least 4 years of it throughout high school and college. So knowing that, knowing what my claims are, I'm now going to try to interpret this comment, and you can follow along if you want to. So here we go. Here's my version of what I think this comment says. I'm not going to read it in French. I'm just going to try to translate it in English. So here we go. Why do you, Nick, speak French? I think it is a priority that Nick can speak French. It is a problem, though, as I understand it, and it is not why I figure that certain phrases can be understood. The question that I pose is, do you have a reason or an occasion to speak some French? Well, good, a little American to speak French in Quebec, but it can be difficult if you have an occasion to practice our language in the United States. Nick, you have visited Canada and you've had the opportunity to go to Montreal or Quebec to practice your French. Well, good. And French, and being a French Latino, what about Guadeloupe, Guyane, Martinique? And some French in that region. Okay, there you go. That is my translation of reading that. So let's see how well I did. Anyone who wants to can just copy and paste what he actually said, put it in auto Google Translate, and we can find out how I did. I don't know, I'd say compared to the average American, as far as someone who can get a general idea of what's being said, I think I did pretty good. But keep this in mind, when I graduated college, what year is this? This is 2019, and I graduated college so long ago. It's been like, what, 15 years or something? So imagine taking classes for a foreign language that you have no background in to begin with. You take 4 years of this language, and that ends 15 years ago. So with no practice since then, no one that I know that speaks French, no reason to be exposed to French anymore, that's my interpretation of the comment. And basically, now that I've had a chance to really process it, he's saying something to the effect of, why do I speak French? Why do I care to speak French? Do you really understand things beyond basic conversation? It can be difficult to have a reason to speak English in the United States. you've had an opportunity to visit Canada. Did you speak it when you were there? And there are certain other places in America where they do speak French. So that's basically the overall of what he's asking here. Now what's interesting, and I'll close with this thought, when I was in my final French class in college, the professor was going to make our final exam a trip to Montreal. And we were in Virginia, is where I went to school. And we had to save up extra money to go to this thing, and the rule is that we were only going to be able to speak French. We could only order our food in French. It all had to be in French the whole time, and we were going to be graded on our interactions and conversations that we had on the trip. And for whatever reason, some personal reason, the professor wasn't able to lead the trip, and we ended up not going. So I didn't get to go to Montreal, and I haven't. I will say though, randomly, the family doctor we had in the small town I grew up in Fort Payne, Alabama, Dr. Bastille, he was French Canadian, and there was an opportunity for him to move from Quebec and come down to Fort Payne, Alabama, and be a family doctor down there. There was an opportunity there. There was I guess supply and demand caused a reason for him to come down there, and that's the doctor I grew up with, and I was used to his accent. And my grandmother, my Mexican-American grandma, what did she do for a living? She cleaned people's houses, and she cleaned his house. And so I often was actually over there, and he had a couple sons that were a bit older than me, and I would get all their hand-me-downs. So I got this doctor's kids clothing, so I was wearing this nice name brand clothes that they just gave them away. So they gave it to their cleaner lady, who gave them to her grandson. So I was around him a lot, and who knows, maybe that was a reason in the back of my mind, like maybe that was hey, French seems more interesting than Spanish to me. That my Mexican grandma, who didn't speak Spanish, cleaned the home of someone who came from Quebec and spoke French, though even though I never heard him speak French, and he was our family doctor. So I didn't even think about that until just now. So how do you think I did on the translation? Not claiming to speak French fluently. I'm only claiming that I can understand some probably basic general conversations. If I'm reading it, I can grasp it. And I'm happy to do that. I think French is such a cool language. So what are your thoughts on what you've learned in this video? Comments belong right here.